Welcome to That American Football Show, powered by EP Sports. EP Sports is the top supplier in the UK for all of your American football needs, helping players and coaches reach their potential since 2007. Check them out at epsports.co.uk. And so we are one step closer to the return of all four of us. We've got Tim, Joe, and I to discuss the weekend of football we had. Craig should be back next week. We've had confirmation his internet's back. It's just a computer. That's the problem now. Saying that, Joe is technically without internet. As a drunk driver took his internet box out.
Yeah, so apologies if I cut out, by the way, just so the people know. I may just vanish from your screens at any point.
And I've also been taken hostage and I'm in a little dark cupboard.
And I'm not.
Adam's living his good life.
But yeah, time to get into some arguments over power rankings. Shout out to everyone last week who made their opinions heard. We received a full email about how we were wrong about the Galaxy. So thank you, Dominic, for sending that because we all really enjoyed having a read of that. And yeah, keep it coming. Our power rankings.
I would say, in our defense, Adam, I think we had Cologne too high. That is the only thing I am going to admit to is we had Cologne too high.
Looking back on it, I was like, yeah, we put Cologne too high there.
Yeah.
But I mean, saying that, Galaxy lost, so we were also right. Let's get on to some news first before we get into the fun. So again, a lot of this is old news because we record right at the beginning of the week. Talking about it with Tyrese Johnson Fisher and their other running back whose name escapes me. Cornwell. So, I mean, I don't know if you watched the game against the Dragons. I don't think any of us expected them to beat the Dragons, but similarly to how they've started every game off, it looks like, okay, they've maybe turned it around and then they just get twatted by like the second quarter onwards.
Yeah, it's tough with the Rams. As you say, you get that little spark and that little thought of, maybe they're going to do something different, and they just don't seem to. And there's just been too many changes and inconsistencies so far this season. It almost reminds me of, again, I'm taking a different analogy. I don't know if you guys know much about Watford Football Club. They seem to have about 5 managers a year and they always get relegated. It never works. You can't keep changing because you need consistency to get results, and that's just not there.
I mean, there's a reason why in the NFL you don't go top Super Bowl teams, that team that just hired their second head coach in 3 years.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. But it's learning curve, isn't it? It's their first year. Take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, I mean, I read something on the Reddit about kind of, it was a Turkish fan, I believe, talking about like Turkish football in general, and that Istanbul Rams were like the top team in Istanbul. Only the top teams really receive funding. And so, especially over COVID, that got cut a lot as well. So Istanbul were like the only team that really survived. And even then they were heavily kind of hamstrung. And then I think that's translating onto the field in that whereas someone like the German players, for example, they are able to put full commitment into it. Their jobs allow them to do that. In Turkey, it seems more like they get the Saturdays off to go and play, and that's pretty much it. And then they got to wake up at 4 a.m, travel across the country to a different country normally.
And I don't know if certain players are coming into these new teams who haven't experienced semi-pro football before, and I think it's a bit of a culture shock to them. They think it's quite what they expected, especially if they've been professional in other leagues. Maybe they're not used to the semi-pro or semi-part-time nature of it, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, all we could say is hopefully they keep pushing and eventually get into it. But I mean, it is what it is right now. We can only see what happens, but I hope they stick at it.
Yeah, because I'd seen some weird. I know Twitter's never a good place; it's a cesspit, really. But I saw some people claiming should the Rams be kicked out of the league just for not being good enough, and you're just thinking, come on, like, how are we gonna get any more teams? How's the league gonna grow if you're gonna boot?
Yeah.
Even in the NFL, there's teams that maybe pull out 1 or 2 wins a year.
Get rid of the Lions.
Yeah. The only time you can have that argument is you've got the situation in BAFA at the moment where referees aren't turning up, games are getting cancelled left, right, and centre. The Rams are turning up. The Rams are playing games. It's not 150-0 every single game. You know, it's their first season. No one expected them to be getting in the playoffs in the first year. So there's no reason to say the Rams should be kicked out. They may well go winless this season, but, you know, they're fairly competitive. They're getting humped, but they're in there, as you said.
I think one thing that the ELF maybe needs to think about is a counterbalance, I guess would be the right way to say it. Like in the NFL, obviously, the worst team gets the best pick. Could they do something like the work? Like maybe there's a scale of imports you get. Maybe they have it almost like a waiver wire where, like, if two teams want a player, the team with the worst record gets like first dibs. I can't really think. Obviously, the way the ELF's set up, being young and there's not too much money in it, it's going to be a tricky thing to work. But I think they need to consider incorporating something like that if this kind of situation remains. So there is quite a bit of parity.
It's difficult when it's not fully professional league to do that, because you can't say to an American, right, you're coming over to Europe. Okay, I'm going to move. Well, or a lot of them are young, but I'm going to move my family over. Where am I going? Well, we'll tell you that. And it's like, well, I want to live here. That's why I'm coming over. You know, it's a bit hard to say, right, we're going to send you to where we want you to go. You know, they're in the position just to say, nah, you're all right. I'll do it if I'm going to Barcelona, or I'll do it if I'm going to Stuttgart or wherever. I think the choice is still with them, especially the imports at the minute.
Yeah, it's true. It's going to be.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. There is no system of parity in this league at the moment, but it's really hard to say. You can't say, like, right, Zach Edwards, you did really well last year. You're the number one. We're going to move you. It's like, what?
Yeah, it's hard. And we'll also talk about the Surge because they have made a few moves. Their new quarterback, Van Dieven, I think you say it. Honestly, I liked what I saw. Well, we'll talk about the Surge in a bit, but like I was saying to Joe before I came on, I was trying to look through the roster, trying to find their receiver Barnes, and I couldn't find him because I was watching the highlights, and they're like 180 odd yards. And he's a cornerback. He'd been I don't know if he played both ways, but he was playing receiver in that game, and he was catching catches that should not have been caught. He was having a really, really good game. I mean, obviously, look at the score, 28-22. It's probably their closest game they've had. It was against the Kings, who had only one win before this, but it was a competitive game, and they looked like they were in that game the entire way. They were winning.
So it was his first game, and he had 391 yards passing, which I think was the most. Having a quick glance at my notes, I think that was the most of any quarterback this week. And he also led the team in rushing with 59 yards as well. So that's a pretty promising debut.
Yeah, it is. It is. You know, it's a good debut. It's a shame, obviously, the circumstances that has all happened, because since we last recorded, obviously David Mesa left the Surge as well, not under great circumstances. He chose to leave as he felt as if he can trust the organization, essentially. And then when Van Diemen played, and he was playing really well, but then obviously ex-Patriots, current Las Vegas Raiders, Jakob Johnson tweeted, I think it was like, we've got a QB now. And it's like, and it's a bit harsh. It is a bit harsh. I understand why he can be excited with what he saw, but it's, you know, time and place.
Yeah. He has clarified that. He responded to David Messer, I was looking at earlier, because I'd stuck my 2 pence worth in as well. But then, so I had a quick look, and I'm just bringing it back up now, what he actually said in response to David Messer. If I can find it, give me 2 seconds.
Okay. This is different. I admit I hadn't seen that he'd
this is really, like the last hour or so, he's responded, you're reading too much into this. Is what David Messer said. You're reading too much into this, my guy. Just happy Van Dieven stepped in and stepped up a short notice. Hope Schroeder has a fast recovery.
Okay.
So it might not have been, because the timing of it and what he said sounded like it was like,
it didn't look good.
We've got rid of this guy. We've got a quarterback now. So, you know, maybe he's.
I dropped a message to David actually, because he said he was going to Austria, I was like, oh yeah, where you going? He said he's going to go watch Aaron Ellis in the championship game.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Aaron. They won the
Yeah,
championship.
well
Did they
done.
win? Congratulations, Aaron, if you're listening. Probably not. Yeah, so Serge, they signed Van Dieven, and they what with the offensive coordinator? Is that are they swapped their scheme? Did they swap offensive coordinators?
Not scheme. I think it's just calling the plays.
So they swapped the play caller, but they've kept the same scheme.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it looked like they were doing better.
Yeah, it was improved, and it was a good against one of the best defenses in the league as well. So
yeah, you're not wrong. Like, I had the Kings defense on fantasy, and they let me down.
Yeah, so you never know. These changes, they seem small on paper, but they may work. It's one of those things where we might not agree with how they've done it, but it might work for the franchise.
And we may as well lead into the Surge Kings game if we're talking about it. For the Kings, I mean, the game was good overall. Surge took the lead. I think it was really close until it was like just put away at the end of the fourth quarter. But Shantavius Jones had such a good catch. He was mossing people and just taking down the streets. And then Benjamin Barnes was doing the same thing. I thought it was actually a very fun game to watch, I think.
Yeah, it was. Of all those games on the Sunday, it was the one that kind of didn't really take the eye as much as the others. However, I weirdly ended up sat down watching it. It was an odd one. The Surge obviously went 10-0 up, but El Hendy was in at quarterback for the Leipzig Kings, and he didn't have the best of days. He missed 5 of his 8 throws, including 2 interceptions, which led them to put Jordan Barlow in, who is currently injured. And Jordan ended up having one of his best games as well. Yep. Threw 2 touchdowns, rushed 2 touchdowns. He didn't look that injured. And I spoke to Jordan actually saying, congrats. I hope you don't, I hope you feel better soon. And he said, yeah, doctor said I need 3 or 4 weeks to heal. I said,
is it an arm injury?
Shoulder, I believe.
Yeah, because you could see, his shoulder was heavily taped. You could see that on the highlights.
Yeah, and I said, yeah, that's, resting's what the off season's for. You do it then. But yeah, hopefully he stays as fit as he can do, because he was looking good again. And after a couple iffy weeks, it's nice to see Jordan back at his best.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we'll just start rattling through these games then. First Saturday game, again, me and Tim were very wrong with Cologne, so apologies. Berlin Thunder 34, Cologne Centurions 7. I was looking forward to this game, and Cologne got I don't know if it's injuries or something, but their offensive line couldn't stop the Thunder. Like Kyle Kitchens was feasting. It was a very, very solid win by the Thunder, and I think all of us were impressed.
Yeah, especially you're right with the defense. I mean, Kitchens 3 sacks, forced fumble, and a touchdown from that.
Yeah, he literally pushed the quarterback over, picked the ball up, and then sprinted 50 yards and just I didn't realize how fast he was, because he was getting chased from about a yard away, and he made such separation.
Yeah,
it is weird how they've gone from being unbeaten to now 3 losses on the bounce. And Pounds, it didn't have a great, because if I look at the list of the top performances of wide receivers, I think it's the first week where Quentin Pounds' name doesn't come into it. So, they're struggling a wee bit after a good start.
And what it is as well is we were talking about, if the Centurions sort out their defense, they would be one hell of a team. But we didn't really think about if their offense kind of stopped, they're going to get heavily beaten each week.
Yeah.
And that was the problem. I think they failed going for it on 4th twice in the first half. So those little things that they were good at earlier in the season, they're slowly starting to sort of go away. I know Lennart was injured, which is quite a big loss, because him, Gaia, and Pounds as a trio works well. And I know you can chuck 5 men on Quentin Pounds and you still won't be able to guard him. But just being able to spread that out a bit more for the defenses help the Thunder.
That, I think that's how they've realized how to beat the Cologne. Like, you just got to stop Quentin Pounds. Yeah,
7 times Weinreich was sacked. I think that's most by a team this season, I think.
Yeah, that sounds it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
On to another similar score. We talked about the Rams earlier. They played the Dragons, lose 41-7. I think we all expected this. Zach Edwards put on a good game. All the receivers were clicking. The defense was doing well. I mean, it's a bit. If I think it's just all what we expected, really.
Yeah.
Great celebration after the game, though.
Yeah, that TikTok they put on was quality. I mean, bright spark for the Rams is Hextall looks like a really, really good player.
Mm-hmm.
Like he looks talent wise, he's almost like a top 5
That
receiver.
number 16.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
was a great receiver. He was the only one really getting the ball.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and Zach, we're running out of things to say about him, aren't we? Really, he's running backwards, and most QBs you think don't throw it, and yet he just throws it, and it always finds Carl Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
just every time.
And their Dragons' defense is just good. Like they have playmakers at every level. Fernandez and Rodriguez are proper pests off the edge.
I think it really helps having Sam there as well. He's obviously he was signed as a coach, but he's been playing all season, so that's got to help having him on the field.
He makes plays as well.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting here is when we rank the Vikings and Dragons now, both teams put on good performances against the bad teams. It's getting harder and harder.
Yeah, well, next week's the one that's going to tell us, isn't it?
Oh, it's going to be amazing.
Whose power ranking is the right one?
Is it Sunday or Saturday?
Saturday, I think.
Oh, I think I'm free this Saturday. That's good.
I think it's Saturday.
It is. Let me have a look. I've got the schedule.
I think it's
here.
the 5 o'clock game.
It's the 5 o'clock, so 4 o'clock our time, yeah.
I'm free. That is excellent news. Speaking of the Vikings, they play the Wroclaw Panthers. They won 36. Pretty great performance overall. They kept Malik Stanley pretty quiet considering, which is hard to do. The Vikings are just a good team, man.
The thing is, if you look at it, the stats don't reflect the score. You say he kept him quiet. He had 94 yards receiving, and their quarterback, Jarman, the new quarterback, threw for 264 yards. But the Vienna just looked better. You know, their rushing attack was good. Erdman, he only actually completed 12 passes, but they were all pretty good passes. He threw for 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, 33%.
Pass.
Yeah. So, you know, the Vikings are they're just quietly getting on with their business. They're not flash as such. I don't think I've seen much of them, but, you know, they're doing what needs to be done.
I think something about them is they make very good defensive plays in very important moments. And their defense has just been so. We think of like the explosive, exciting defenses. They're not one of those, but they turn it up week in, week out. They're a top 4 defense every single week. I think they had 9 tackle for losses and 4 sacks this week, like up against the Panthers. That even though it didn't seem like that was the reason.
And the Panthers are a good team. Like only letting the Panthers score 6 is hard.
Yeah, I just think the Austrian teams, and we'll come on to the Raiders later, they're just good at the fundamentals. So it's obviously good coaching. So they're not flashy, but they're just getting the job done because they know what to do. So, and also it helps when your leading rusher goes out and you can just bring his brother in. That's quite handy.
Yeah.
So what do we think, Dragons or Vikings?
Oh, don't make us pick.
I don't want to be a homer, but
who's at home again?
It's in Barcelona.
Oh, you know what?
Don't use that excuse. I'm just going to pick the home team.
No, I'm not. I'm going to go for Vienna.
Ooh,
I think Barcelona will win. The best team the Vikings played so far have been the Raiders, who took them to within 3, and that's when the Raiders were not at their best.
It's all about strength of schedule, though. Apparently.
I mean, we'll argue more about this when we're doing our power rankings.
Yeah.
Tim, your game. Galaxy 17, Raiders 23.
It's what we thought the Raiders were going to be at the start of the season. It was everything that you've seen them doing so far this season, the sort of ball control offense they've got, and then occasional long throws. And Sean Shelton just knowing what he's doing. 31-year-old Sean Shelton doing what he's doing. Not 34, 31-year-old. And he can run too. He had a cracking run. It was a back and forth game. You could say there were 2 good teams, but the fourth quarter was quite tense because the Galaxy could have taken it. But Sullivan's doing too much. Jacob Sullivan's doing too much on his own in a minute. However, Reece Horn is going to be a good player.
He's good.
He had some very good catches. And also, one-on-one balls. There was one, the touchdown that he caught. He was up against this cornerback, and he just basically outreached him and took the ball straight off him. It was a good touchdown. So, the Galaxy have now got themselves in a bit of a tough situation, but don't rule them out. But I think my Raiders...
Yeah, they're 2-3 and third in their conference behind, who is it, the Raiders and the Vikings?
Yeah.
Like, they've all just lost to the Raiders. They've got to essentially win out and beat the Raiders again to even have a chance. Yeah. And the Raiders don't look like they're stopping.
Here's an interesting stat about Austrian parity. So the Raiders had 173 rushing yards, 173 passing yards, and the Vikings had 164 rushing yards, 164 passing yards.
That's cool.
That's from I've forgotten his name, Rennie Bugler. I think his name is on Twitter, so pointed that out. So shout out to him. Yeah,
Raiders are. I liked watching that game. It was like I said. I feel like I'm not trying to make this as a comparison, but as is Tom Brady to the NFL, like he is the smart decision maker, just doesn't do things wrong. That's what Sean Shelton is, like the experienced quarterback that knows how to run his offense.
Yeah. And he seems to trust the wide receivers because he's played with it. It took him a bit of time this season, but they seem to be where they should be. I know that sounds stupid, but you can see him when he's under pressure. They also know when he starts to scramble and he's really good at avoiding pressure, they just make themselves available to him. And all of a sudden, when you think he's throwing it downfield.
Presence, I noticed that.
Yeah, it's really good. Well, he's a veteran. He's 31 years old, so he's been around a while. Must know what
31.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sean. Sorry, Sean, for getting his age wrong.
Yeah, and I just think the Raiders as well, their secondary has improved because the first two games, that was what let them down. Really, you can almost say that's what lost them the first two games. If they were firing from the beginning, they could be the 5-0 team.
That's it, and that's what actually won them this game because the Galaxy were driving. But they had a fourth down, and the pass. One of the cornerbacks deflected the pass, which would have been a completion, could have set them up to go for the win. So
the Galaxy looked good as well. The Raiders, just won the game.
But it's a big game to lose.
Big,
you're right.
Like you said, Joe, last week, like that is a potentially lost playoff spot now from the champions.
It's going to be. I saw someone did they were doing percentages on teams' chances to make the playoffs, and I think the Galaxy were at 41% before that game.
So who have Galaxy got coming up? They got the Surge next week, then they got the Centurions.
Yeah.
Then they got their bye.
Okay.
Then they got the Panthers, then the Vikings, then the Fire, then the Raiders, then the Surge. So except for the last week, they have a pretty tough run for the Raiders, Vikings, and Fire.
But they could win out. There's a world where they win out.
Yeah.
And
I think they have to win out now to win.
Yeah.
They'll get in the playoffs. And that puts us on to our last game. This is one I watched. Rhine Fire 15, Hamburg 42. Not a result I think we were all expecting.
Ooh.
My biggest notes from this, Cisse looked a lot better, much improved. Glenn Tunga is an absolute animal. The Fire could not stop the run. It was like shocking how much they could just not stop the run. And that Hamburg defense is very good because all their defense was making plays. Glenn Tunga got like 4 touchdowns, 180 something yards. Like he made 2 of those touchdowns were I think over 60 yards each. Like he just broke a hole and went. It was a beat down.
Yeah, and I think Edebali started to look like a player that used to play in the NFL. Last season he was a bit quiet, I think, but this season that defense is really good. And Tonga is just amazing to watch because he's fast, he's big. 4 touchdowns in that game. That's pretty impressive.
3 of them in the first half.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll say some things about the Fire. Robotai is an absolutely amazing receiver. Their first touchdown, he literally just caught the ball whilst getting tackled, shook the receiver off and just ran off. And the Fire made the worst play of the week. It was a punt. Robotai was back to receive it. Yeah, you guys weren't watching this. I tried to explain it.
I saw the replay.
I saw it after. Now I know what you mean.
If you've not watched it, go watch it because Robotai stands back to take the punt. Ball bounces. It takes a good roll. Like it flips forward about 10, 20 yards. And number 4 for the Fire just comes up and like just slaps the ball. He doesn't even try and pick it up. And then obviously the Hamburg team just jump on it. And then immediately that was followed by a PI to Gene Constant on the 1 yard line. And then it was a 1 yard touchdown, put them up by 6. And then actually they'd also just returned the field goal from the first touchdown. So they'd already had 2 points, put them up to 9. And like that just seemed like the momentum they need, and they just didn't stop.
I just don't understand what he was trying to do with the punt.
Every week we've said the Fire are the best coach team.
There was no reason for him to touch that ball. It wasn't like there was players and he thought he could pick it up and run with it. They were standing round the ball, and he just seemed to just tap it. I was like, "What are you doing?"
It's so odd.
Yeah, I think. I don't know how we do this. I think this was the first week in which the Fire lost the turnover battle in the game. I think they were up. I think over the season they were up 9 turnovers, and the next team was on 2. So that's kind of what has been, as we say, good coaching. That's what's been keeping them winning and winning. But as soon as they lose that fundamental, it cost them greatly.
I mean, they got a safety, they got a return field goal. I think they got a defensive touchdown as well. But like, it's great. I mean, that I think Hamburg have been middling, kind of between that first and second tier, and this has put them firmly in the top. I think that was a huge win.
It did look like from the highlights as well. I don't know how close Dusseldorf is to Hamburg, but there was a lot of travelling fans. And I think that's the first game where we've seen a sizable away support at a game. You know, those Rhine Fire fans, they turn up.
They do.
Yeah, they seem to have the best fan base just straight out the gates.
Yeah,
it's huge. And so this brings us to the power rankings, gentlemen. So we've all brought our own. As a reminder from last week, we had the Rams.
Can we skip last week? Let's forget.
We've got to go over it, Tim, for history.
Okay.
We had the Rams 12th, Surge 11th, Thunder 10th, Kings 9th, Panthers 8th, Raiders 7th, Galaxy 6th, Centurions 5th, Hamburg 4th, Fire 3rd, Vikings 2nd, Dragons 1st. Are we all in agreement the Rams stay at the bottom?
Yes.
Okay. Did the Surge keep the 11th spot as well?
Yeah.
I don't think that anyone else can take it, really. But I think the Surge are on a slight uptick.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think the Thunder stay here.
No.
But who does though? Who goes down there?
So
I
I've
don't
got
think
Leipzig.
you can put Cologne beneath the Kings.
No. So I've got the Kings at 10.
I think you have to put the Kings here, yeah. The Thunder
again. I think it's the problem me and Adam had
last week though.
I know there's a group of 4 there that you could put any of the 4. So you've got Leipzig, Cologne, Thunder, and the Panthers. I think all in a separate group from the bottom 2, and then the bottom 6. I've got a separate group again. So I'll tell you what I've got. I've got Leipzig at 10. I've got Cologne at 9, Thunder at 8, mainly for the fact they beat Cologne, and then I've got the Panthers at 7.
But at the same time, the Kings beat the Thunder last week.
Yeah.
I've got the Kings, the Thunder, the Panthers, the Centurions. But I think the Centurions, you could drop them further if you wanted.
I've got them at 9.
See, I've got Centurions at 7 still. I don't know. I still believe in that offense. I've got them above the Panthers.
I feel like you can't put Quentin Pounds that low.
Yeah.
You can't, but they just got hammered by the Thunder.
And I feel like we can't put the Kings down because they won.
It's hard. This is the thing, though. It's hard, but they did only win by 6 against the Surge. Granted, they didn't have their main QB for the first quarter. Essentially,
I think you can put the Centurions near here. You know, just based on their last 2 weeks, which are they scored like 14 points. How did they do? How did they do week 4? The Galaxy.
The Thunder just battered them. The Thunder just absolutely battered them.
So right now, sitting here Monday,
and they lost 48-12 to the Galaxy last week.
Yeah,
I think you could put the Centurions here. Actually,
What,
I've
10th?
thought so.
Well,
So,
I think that's fair. I do think that's fair enough.
because the Thunder and the Kings both, yeah, but you like said the Kings' win was only by 6. It's the Kings or the Centurions.
so the
Yeah,
Kings
I
won.
agree. I think it's one of those two.
The Kings won by 6 against the team that we've got at 11. So I reckon I still think the Kings at 10.
What
I
do you-
think
what do you
Cologne,
think, Joe?
Thunder, and Panthers are better than the Kings.
I think the Centurions have lost 3 in a row.
Fine, let me put it on this way, Joe. If the Cologne played the Kings, who have you got? I think you take Cologne.
It's a coin flip. It's a real coin flip. But if
I think
you want
take
to
Cologne and Cologne v Kings.
I think I would take Cologne.
So we've got to put the Kings 10th then.
Yeah,
It's harsh. It's
yeah,
really
it is,
harsh.
It is.
But we have to. Someone has to go there.
Yeah.
And then Centurions 9th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we put in the Thunder under the Panthers.
The Kings are also. I know the Kings, but they're on a 2-win streak,
Mm.
and they've gone down, and the Centurions on a 3-loss streak.
And they've gone down though. They've gone from
No, I'm
5th to 9th.
And we thought the Centurions were too high last week.
But at the same time, the Panthers only scored 6 points.
Yeah, I've not been too impressed by the Panthers.
Are they injured or something? Obviously, I know they've lost their quarterback and they've got a new guy. But he looked okay. Is he good?
Yeah, he's fairly decent. Yeah,
Look pretty good.
If he's fairly decent, how come he's only scored like 10 points?
They're coming up against Vienna.
Yeah. He passed for 264 yards.
Mm. He didn't have too shabby of a game at all.
Mm. You know, when you look at Malik had 94 yards receiving. Yeah, granted, then he had a rushing touchdown.
Who would win against the Panthers or the Thunder?
I think the Panthers.
I'd back the Panthers.
Yeah. So then we've got to go Kings, Cents, Thunder, Panthers.
Yeah.
Does that mean the Panthers go up after only scoring 6 points?
Yeah, the Kings have gone down.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's park that.
Yeah.
So 7, 8, 9, 10. We're going to come back.
Let's go to the top.
We'll come back.
6.
Oh, we're doing 6. Wait, what?
Oh, you can go back from 1 down if you want.
Are we keeping Dragons at 1 or do Vikings earn 1?
Right. I've got Dragons at 1 because of their strength of schedule. So he stares clutching at his notes. Right. So the Dragons have beaten the Surge, the Sea Devils, Centurions, Fire, and Rams. So the combined
Centurions
record.
were good then as well.
Aye. So the combined record of the teams the Dragons have beaten is 9-16. Vikings have beaten the Raiders, the Galaxy, the Surge, the Rams, the Panthers. The combined record of the teams is worse at 7-18. So just on that fact alone, and the fact that I think head-to-head the Dragons would beat the Vikings, I'm going for Dragons at 1, Vikings 2.
Thank you for showing your allegiance as well.
I'm happy to agree, Dragons. Even though I think Vienna might win, I'm happy.
I'll go with. I think it was your rationale, Joe, that neither has more evidence to move it. Like there's not enough to say the Dragons are below.
Yeah, not enough to overturn the decision.
Keeping it equal. I think number 3's got a clear victor.
Yeah, Sea Devils.
Sea Devils.
And I think 4's clear as well.
Yeah, I agree.
With the Raiders.
I say I agree. I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, Raiders definitely go here.
And then this is 5 and 6.
At this moment, I just want to point out the picture that Tim shared from the European League of Football Instagram. That was the playoffs if it happened today. And it was Dragons versus Sea Devils, Vikings versus Raiders. And that would be such a fun playoff.
So good.
Okay. I think the Galaxy go here?
Yes.
5th.
Yeah, the good win. They had a good win last. Joe's going to disagree because I can see his face in a little corner. So for me, Galaxy ran the Raiders really close. And if it wasn't for some bad clock management on the part of the Galaxy at the end of the game, they should have had more time and a couple more plays. They would have won that game. They had a great win the week before. You know, and one of the losses, they lost their quarterback. I just think the Galaxy are better than the Fire, because the Fire have lost a couple now.
I think I'm going to agree with you. I did have the Fire head, but also I had in my head, the Fire beat Galaxy week 1, but the Galaxy weren't the Galaxy week 1.
Yeah.
And I think the Fire we saw were kind of at maybe the best we've seen them was in those first couple of weeks. And I think the Galaxy are better than that.
I don't like to judge a team on a 1 week performance, because if the Fire's run defense stays like that, which I'm sure it won't, the Galaxy would walk over them.
Yeah.
But like, the Fire have looked really strong in some of their games. Like they've tipped a lot of games that we thought they were going to lose.
I'm kind of arguing against my own ranking here, but how many people have a Glenn Tonga though? Is it that the Fire run defense is bad, or is it that Glenn Tonga and that?
But the thing is, Glenn Tonga went out and his backup came and did the same thing to them.
Fair point. So is it the O-line then?
Yeah. Galaxy or the Fire, because Matt, that was the first game I've seen Matt Adams look like pissed off. Granted, I think there was maybe a few face masks and stuff that didn't get called, but like he was not a happy bunny.
Yeah, and I definitely think Galaxy 5.
Yeah, I agree. I think Galaxy 5.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I don't really look either way. That's fine. At least the Galaxy fans will stop yelling at us.
Exactly.
So I think we should look at this. Who would have the best chance of beating the Fire at the Panthers, Thunder, Centurions, and Kings?
I actually like the Thunder right now.
I also quite like
the Panthers though.
The Thunder. Okay.
Right, are we giving the Thunder too much credit for whooping they give this week?
Yeah, because they have only won.
Because the
only other team they beat with the Rams.
Now. The Centurions just dropped off a cliff somehow.
Yeah. You can't say that about the Fire. They've just lost a couple of games, but the Centurions look like they've fallen off a cliff.
So am I right in saying that now we're arguing Panthers Thunder? And arguably the Centurions and Kings.
So the Panthers, looking back, when they played Sea Devils, that was just a dodgy overtime win.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
You've got to give the Panthers credit for that one. Mm-hmm. And then they got whooped by the Galaxy. But I think that's their only... Yeah, okay. They won there.
They lost to the Galaxy when they were down William Lloyd, though, who's their starting linebacker.
They had a few. They were missing a few, but it does seem every time the Panthers play one of the elite teams, they do get beaten quite easily.
Tell you what I do miss from, I think the ELF needs to do, and I think they try, but it's not good enough, is injury reports. Because a team could be losing terribly, and I think in my head, oh, surely they're just badly injured, and they might not be missing anyone.
Yeah, the Centurions did have a lot of injuries this week, just gone. That's the only saving grace I'm kind of giving them.
So where did we have the Panthers, Thunder, Cologne, and Leipzig last week?
Last week we had it from bottom up. Mm-hmm. Thunder, Kings, Panthers, and Centurions were fifth. Right. We now have the Kings, the Centurions, and we're deciding upon the Panthers and Thunder.
I don't think we should buy into the Thunder's win too much.
No. I think the Panthers are better than the Thunder.
I think the Kings are better than the Thunder as well. I really do. I think they've got a better QB. I think they've got a better defense. They beat them last week.
Yeah, the Kings did just beat the Thunder as well. Does that mean we've got to put the Centurions at 10th?
I would even argue keep the Thunder at 10. Even after that win, I don't know. I still haven't bought into them.
But I think if the Thunder played the Centurions now, they'd wipe them out.
Well, they just
did.
They just did.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So you can't put the Thunder beneath the Centurions. So it's got to be Centurions.
But as Joe said last week,
Thunder.
The Kings beat the Thunder.
I think I think the peak of the Centurions has been. I know it's what's going on right now, and this is after week 5. But the peak of the Centurions was a lot higher than the peak of the Thunder. But is it just their offense? Is that what we are wooed by?
Well, if we've previously said we do it based on their current state, like injury-wise.
Okay.
So I think if the way we're talking, it has to go Centurions, Thunder, Kings, Panthers.
I think that's...
Centurions, Thunder, Kings, Panthers. I could buy into that.
I quite like that.
So let me just read through these.
I think this has been the longest deliberation we've done yet.
Yeah, essentially. We've got the
tough.
Rams really 12-11. Centurions 10th having a big drop of 5. Thunder stepping up 1-9. Kings stepping up 1-8. Panthers stepping up 1-7 on a loss, weirdly. Fire dropping down from 3rd to 5th. Oh, no, sorry, Fire are 6th. No, yes.
Yeah.
Fire are 6th. Galaxy are 5th, taking a step up. Raiders are 4th, taking a big step. Hamburg are 3rd, step up. And Vikings, Dragons, top 2. I like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Galaxy lost, but they played well, and they've been playing well. So I'm happy with that. Raiders...
The only anomaly is the Panthers going up.
Yeah.
But I don't think you could put them beneath the Kings or the Thunder.
No, the Panthers beat the Kings just earlier in the season, but they still did.
I think that's our fairest yet, actually. We're going to get a very angry email.
This is not a scientific process. We are not completely messing up the formula for doing a power rankings. This is what we think, and this is why we're doing it, and we're doing it for fun. There's nowhere written in stone that strength of schedule determines power rankings. You know what I mean? You're like they don't give the Super Bowl to the team that has the worst strength of schedule. You know what I mean? It's just, this is our opinion.
Nevertheless, let us know your opinion and let us know why you think we're right or why we're wrong. How can they do that?
However, if you do think we're wrong, let us know how you would do it then.
Please do.
Yeah. A lot of people not backing up their stuff.
Exactly.
And Joe, where can they find all of our stuff?
Twitter and Instagram is at TAFS_UK. Facebook is that American Football Show. If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, they're just above up here. I don't know where I'm going to be in the video, but yeah, up.
We're all doing it. And yeah, you can find us on YouTube or Spotify by searching That American Football Show. I don't know, we haven't shouted them out for a while, but Lockdown Lids have got a couple of good pieces on there. I just put some tickets down for an AJ Brown helmet. So have a look over there if you want any merch. Anything else before we get off, boys? When's the interview coming out, Joe?
It will be probably Thursday. I think I'll put that out. I may have to, yeah. If I have internet, hopefully I will. But otherwise, we'll find some other means of getting it up.
Interview Panthers wide receiver Malik Stanley, really nice guy. So make sure you listen to that. If you don't watch any of our interview stuff, watch them because they're all really fun. Tim, anything before we get off?
Nope, I'll be out of the cupboard hopefully by next week, and I'll be back in my house.
Yeah, but you're getting takeaways every night.
And that's great.
All right, thank you everyone so much for listening. Make sure you head over and check out our friends at EP Sports for any of your NFL or equipment needs, and we will see you all next week.